Imagine spending billions of dollars to build the most advanced and invisible weapon in human history, only to have it systematically dismantled by something you can't even see. In the 1970s, at the absolute boiling point of the Cold War, the United States Navy faced a terrifying crisis. Their prized fleet of nuclear-powered submarines, the invisible backbone of global nuclear deterrence, were returning to port completely crippled. But they weren't suffering from missile damage or engine failure. When these steel leviathans were pulled into dry docks, engineers were horrified to find the thick, specialized rubber coating on their sonar domes, electrical cables and soundproof hulls covered in bizarre wounds. Perfect scooped-out circular holes. It looked like someone had walked up to a multi-billion-dollar submarine with a giant ice cream scoop and casually taken bites out of the ultra-dense rubber. Worse yet, the damage wasn't just cosmetic. These gouges were blinding the submarine's sonar tracking systems, rendering them completely deaf in the deep ocean. The US military panicked. Had the Soviet Union secretly deployed a microscopic laser weapon? Were stealth drones hunting American ships in total silence? The Pentagon was looking at a potential act of war, but the true culprit was something far more terrifying. To understand the sheer panic inside the Pentagon, you have to understand how a nuclear submarine survives. In the deep ocean, sight is completely useless. Submarines rely entirely on their sonar domes, giant, delicate arrays of microphones protected by thick rubber. If that rubber is compromised, the sonar fills with deafening static. When the US Navy realized that dozens of their vessels were being struck simultaneously across different oceans, the investigation went into absolute overdrive. High-ranking intelligence officials drew up terrifying theories. The prevailing belief was that Soviet divers had developed an elite, silent sabotage tool designed to slice away the rubber, causing the tracking equipment to flood with seawater and short-circuit. The paranoia shifted from defense to a terrifying realization. If the Soviets could touch their hulls undetected, they could destroy them at any second. Soon the mystery deepened. It wasn't just the submarines. Deep-sea oceanographic tracking cables, laid thousands of feet below the surface to detect enemy movements, began failing completely. When hauled up, they too had the exact same mechanical circular chunks missing, leaking sound-insulating oil directly into the sea. The United States was on the verge of accusing the Soviet Union of high-seas espionage and sabotage. They prepared for a military confrontation, waiting for a single piece of evidence to prove the Kremlin was behind the attacks. But then, a top-secret report landed on the desk of naval commanders that threw the entire global intelligence community into absolute chaos. The Soviets were experiencing the exact same thing. Soviet ballistic missile submarines were returning to their hidden ports in Murmansk with the identical circular gouges. The realization swept through both superpowers. If neither side was doing this, then what on earth was eating the world's deadliest military fleets? The answer arrived when a submarine pulled a damaged acoustic array out of the water, and something was still clinging to the rubber. It wasn't a mechanical drone, a secret weapon, or a Soviet spy. It was a fish, specifically a tiny, entirely unassuming creature barely 20 inches long. Icystus brasiliensis, better known to science as the Cookiecutter Shark. For centuries, this small deep-sea shark had lived in complete obscurity, swimming thousands of feet below the surface. But its evolutionary design is a masterpiece of biological deception. The Cookiecutter Shark is covered in bioluminescent cells that glow a soft radiant green in the pitch-black abyss. However, a small patch on its neck remains dark. To giant ocean predators swimming below, this dark patch looks exactly like the silhouette of a tiny harmless fish. When a massive predator like a tuna, a whale or a dolphin swims up to swallow the easy meal, the trap springs. The Cookiecutter Shark darts forward, attaches its thick, fleshy suction cup lips to the side of the target and locks in. Then, it deploys its secret weapon, a lower jaw lined with razor-sharp, interlocking triangular teeth that act like a circular saw. The shark grips tight, twists its entire body in a violent 360-degree spin, and cleanly scoops out a perfect circular plug of flesh. It is a hit-and-run parasite. The shark had spent millions of years evolving to bite chunks out of whales, so when the Cold War arrived and the oceans filled with massive rhythmic, heat-emitting nuclear submarines, the tiny shark didn't see an advanced piece of military engineering. It just saw the biggest, slowest, most delicious electronic whale it had ever encountered. The shark would swim up to the moving submarine, latch its suction cup mouth onto the soft rubber shield of the sonar dome, spin its body, and tear out a massive chunk of industrial rubber. To the shark, it was a frustrating meal of tasteless synthetic polymer, but to the US Navy, it was an engineering nightmare that cost millions of dollars per vessel to repair. Once the military realized they were at war with a foot-long prehistoric fish rather than Soviet spies, the solution was as absurd as the problem. They couldn't kill every shark in the ocean, so they had to redesign the fleet. The Navy spent millions of dollars retrofitting their submarines, replacing the soft rubber coverings on sonar lines and communication cables with hard, impenetrable fiberglass shields. The Cookiecutter Shark still tried to bite the ships, but they simply broke their teeth against the new shields, leaving the secret fleet safe to roam the deep in peace. It remains one of the most bizarre chapters in military history. A moment when a global nuclear standoff involving the most lethal weapons ever devised by human hands was brought to a screeching paranoid halt, all because a tiny glowing shark mistook a billion-dollar submarine for a passing snack. If a creature that small could accidentally outsmart the two most powerful military intelligence networks on the planet, what else is hiding in the deep ocean, watching our technology glide through the dark?